Okay, so we're going to go through the basic tutorial on OnShape to expand what we've been doing so far. So we're going to use our creating methods to try and make some 3D letters on here and then combine them together to make a word. So I'm going to do a simple little tutorial here. As we've done before, we're going to go up to create and to document. Let's just give this simple little name. Doesn't matter what it is. And that's going to open up a new workspace. Now, as we've gone through before, we have our three-dimensional planes here. We can rotate them according to our different panels over here. I'm just going to select one of them for now, so we can start on our sketch. We always need to select our plane that we're going to be working on to. Now, with our creating, if you remember correctly, if we go back to actually our creating letters, all of our creating letters are obviously 4 wide and 5 tall. So we need to be using those same methods there. Let's start with the first letter A here. So because we've got 4 wide, 5 tall, and we've got some little curved bits at the top there. We've got space in the middle. We've got a bit out there. So we're going to start off with a 40 by 50 millimeter square. So let's go back into here then. We had our obviously sketch plane selected. I'm going to get a center point rectangle just so we can center it here. I'm going to select my center point there. And it doesn't matter what my numbers are saying right here because I'm going to edit them in a minute. So I'm going to go down to the bottom, change that to 40. Go over here, change this to 50. Now remember, you don't click on the numbers here, you just hover next to them so you can edit them. If I started clicking here, we're going to end up drawing a new box. Now, whilst I've still got that in a three-dimensional view, I'm going to go to my extrude here and start to make my letters 3D. Let's only make it 10 mil, just a centimeter thick is perfectly fine. Right, so I've got my rectangle to start with. Now, what I want to start doing now is cutting pieces away until I'm left with my letter. So let's start off here with this first part. So we have a centimeter in on both sides or 10 mil in, and then obviously 20 up, 20 mil across, 20 mil down, or 2 by 2 by 2. So we're going to go back onto here. We're going to get our sketch plane again. We're going to select our face. And this time, I'm not going to use a center point rectangle. I'm going to use a corner point rectangle because I know that my rectangle starts from the bottom here and it's going to go somewhere around there. Now, I want to change this to 20 and I'm going to change this side to 20. Now, I know that's 20 tall and 20 wide. However, I don't know the distance from those two sides. And I can already see just by looking at it that that's skinnier than that side. So I'm going to go up to here where I have this tool here, dimensions. And I'm going to select there to there. And it's now telling me that that is 11.12. So I can type in 10 here to make sure my whole box is shifted that way. And I can double check my measurements here just by going to there. And yep, as I thought, I've already got a 10. So while I've still got this sketch selected, I'm going to go to extrude. Now, when I go into my 3D view, it's starting to add bits there, but I actually want to remove it right now. So I'm going to press remove, press tick, and there we go. That's taken that first bit away. Well, and already it's starting to look a lot like the letter A. So let's just review our letters here. Obviously, we have a centimeter gap, and then we're going to curve those corners off in a minute. We've got another centimeter by 2 centimeters or 10 by 20 millimeter hole in there. So I'm going to go to my sketch again. Again, it's red, so I'm going to select my face. And then I'm going to go back to a corner point rectangle and just try and eyeball it. Make that 20, make that 10. And then finally, I need to make sure that all of these measurements are correct. Now, I know that is going to be 10 away from there, so that obviously needs to go higher. I know it's going to be 10 away from here, so that needs to be 10. And by process of elimination, I know that's going to be 10 and that's going to be 10, but just for the sake of argument, let's just prove it. Yep, there we go. I know that's correct. And this one here, I know also that one is there is correct as well. So all the measurements are as I want them. I'm going to go back to extrude. I'm going to remove that space there. And I'm going to go back to my 3D view and I'm going to press tick. Now, right now you can see I've got a very kind of blocky looking letter A. It doesn't quite look like what it's in here. So I've actually got a radial curve there with a 10 mil radius diameter going all the way across. So there's a special little tool that I'm going to use here. where I'm going to zoom in and make sure I've selected not the dot and not the edge there, but the line. So I'm going to select that line and that line there. I'm going to go up to fillet and I'm going to change my radius to 10. And there we go. That's exactly as it is in my creating letters down here. And so I've got exactly what I want it to be. I'm going to press tick and there we go. Now, finally, if I check my letters on the inside, I've also got that same radial curve doing the same thing. So I need to go into here and do the same thing as well. Now, when I look at that, it's not actually going to be another 10 mil curve. In fact, on the inside, it's probably going to be a little bit more like a 5 mil curve. So I'm going to go in there and make sure that I'm selecting the edge like so. I'm going to go ahead and flip that round till I can see the other line. Make sure that line is selected. Now let's check it from the front view to make sure that I'm going to get the view that I want. So in there, again, it looks a little bit too much there. Pretty sure we're going to need to do a 5 mil on the inside to get it looking like it's in line with this one, obviously. So we've got 5 mil there, we've got 10 mil on the outside, and I'm going to tick it, and that's looking a lot closer to how I want it to be. I've got my first letter there. Now, this is the important part. I've just got one letter here, but I want to assemble several letters. Now, I could keep building on this same document, but that's not really going to help me later on when I want to try and make different words and I can do different combinations of letters. The best thing I can do here is down here on the tabs, I've got Part Studios. This is my part, and this is an assembly tab. I'm going to come back to this a little bit later on. I'm going to go down to a new part, create a new part. And now once I've done that, you're going to see I'm going to go back to this point here. Now I'm just going to really kind of try and speed run through this part. So, oh, I know what I'm going to do. Right, so let's go back to my sketch plane there. I'm going to do a new rectangle like so. And I'm going to quickly type in the numbers I need, 40 and 50. So I'm doing the exact same thing as I did last time. I'm starting off with my same part there. I'm going to go to extrude. I'm going to go to this part here. I'm going to add a 10 like so. And now the next letter I actually want to do is, let's do, you know what, let's do the I. I and the T actually have the same thing going on. Let's do the T first. It's going to be a lot simpler. Now on this one here, I don't have obviously a set kind of centimeter. It's in between some blocks here. So on this grid, it was a little bit more difficult to do. I had to measure between lines. It's going to be a lot simpler because it's actually 1.5 centimeters or 15 millimeters. So in fact, here it's going to be incredibly simple because what I'm going to do, and I'm actually going to do them both at the same time to make my life a little bit easier. Let's go to here and let's go to our corner rectangle and let's go right down to the corner there. This is going to be a lot simpler with a T, and I'm going to do that. Now here, as I mentioned, I want 15 millimeters or a centimeter and a half. And here, if it is 50 up and it's only leaving 1 centimeter at the top, that's obviously going to have to be 40. And there we go. That's so much simpler because it's lined up with the corner. I'm going to do the same here as well. Actually, that has snapped to the top there, so I don't even need to do the 40. I just need to change this to 15, and I am away. Now, if I press extrude here, it should hopefully have selected those two pieces there, which it has. I can then remove them and do it all in one go. And there we go. I've instantly got my letter T. The letter T doesn't have any curves on it like the A did, so my letter is done. That was a nice, quick, simple letter. Let's go on to our next one. Now, you might be able to figure out what I'm going to be doing here. Right, let's go straight into, as I mentioned before, I want to do a letter I now. So let's go to the front. This is going to be another incredibly quick one, just like I've done with the T. Go straight in there, bam, bam. Let's make that 40. Let's make the next one 50. Here we go. Extrude. I'm not going to go back to my 3D view. I know what I'm doing here. 10 mil. Straight in there. Let's do a quick little check. Yep, can you see that? Right, now, just like the letter T, this is almost going to be exactly the same, but with a slight variation here. I'm going to get my corner rectangles, and I'm going to edge it from there to there, and I'm going to put 15 in again. This time, instead of 40, I'm going to put 30 because I need space top and bottom. And now I'm going to have to add in an extra dimensional tool here to make sure that that space there is exactly 10. And if that is 10, so will the bottom part be. I'm going to go back to my sketch here. I'm going to do the same here, make that 15, make that 30. And one more time, let's get this dimensional tool here. Let's check the bottom this time to make sure it's right. Right, and there we go. So we're going to go to our extrude. Let's get it in its 3D view just so we can see. We're going to press remove again and then tick. Right, so I have an A, I have a T, I have an I, and the last letter I'm going to do to complete my word, I'm going to do an L. And in a moment, you're going to see why I've done all these letters. So here we go, 40, 50. Right, 40 by 50. I'm now going to go to here. I'm going to press extrude. Same thing again, 10 millimeters. There we go. And I'm going to go straight in here. I'm going to go to my sketch there, select the face. I'm going to go to my corner, rectangle, put those bits in there like that. And this is going to be 30. And this is going to be 40. Okay, so I'm going to press extrude, take it back to my 3D view, press remove, and there I go. So, got all my letters in here. Now I could sit here and do the whole alphabet. I'm not going to do that. This video is going to be far too long, but I wanted to just get a couple of letters in because this is the most important part, the assembly. Now, on this part here, I want to start inserting some of my letters. So, I just realized I need some of these letters twice. So what I'm actually going to do, I could just keep reinserting the letters, but I want to change the colors of some of these letters. So I'm going to duplicate my A. So I've got a copy and that one there. I only want one T. I'm going to duplicate my I. I'm only doing a duplication because as I use a letter multiple times, I'm going to be changing the colors of some of these letters later on. And so here we go. Let's insert. Right. We go for an I. Now, my first letter I'm going to use as my anchor point. So I'm going to right-hand click this and press fix. And this will just allow me to fix that into place right there. So now here's where it gets a little bit more difficult when you bring the second letter in. Now at this point here, that'll be fine now. Right, this is the part where I want to be able to actually get to different sections of my letter. So this button up here, fasten mate, it's going to allow me to fasten sections to each other. So I'm going to select the side of that I there and then go around here and select the side of that T. And can you see it's fastened them next to each other exactly as I want it to be there. Now, I've got my first set of letters. Now, let's start to bring in my next letter. So insert. Yeah, this is where it's going to get a little bit more difficult, but this is fine. So I'm going to bring my first one in, my A. Now, this point here, my A needs to be connected to the T on a single line point. So I'm going to zoom into here and select this edge. So I'm going to go fasten mate. I'm going to just select just that edge. Now I'm going to rotate this bit here. I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to select just that edge. And if I've done that correctly, there we go. Brilliant. They're fastened together perfectly. I can mess around with the X and Y axis if they're a little bit up and down. I think I'm going to have to do this on the next one actually, so I'll show you an example of what I mean by that. Let's insert my next letter. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to do it for this next part here. So I've got my letter L right there. Now you'll see here when I go to fasten it, I'm going to select that. No, I don't want to do that. Right, I misclicked. I want to make sure I hit the actual face there. Now I'm going to rotate this around. And I'm going to hit the actual face here. Now, what you're going to see here is my letter L is a little bit lower because it tries to select the center of the face on both parts. So here I'm going to have to press offset and mess around with some of the axes here. So I need my y-axis to be, let's see, I think it goes up about 5 millimeters. Oh no, -5 in that direction. There we go. So because of the curve, obviously the center of the face is a little bit off. So if that happens, I can always move them using my X, Y, and Z axis on that fasten mate, just to kind of move bits around. So I've got that exactly where I want it to go. That's perfect. I'm happy with that. So time to insert my first copied letter. Oh, was that a yeah, my first copied letter. That's right. That was the original one I brought in over there. So this is going to be my first copy. If I haven't done this right, it's really going to mess up my colors later on. But let's see. Okay, so fasten. I want to zoom in here to make sure I get that actual face. There we go. This is going to be a nice simple one as well. Go back to my 3D view there. Oh, this is going to be a nightmare actually. There we go. Right, I need to zoom in here. There we go. Right, let's go back to my view that I actually want to have here. There we go. Yes, I'm happy with that. Now my final letter to bring in, which is my final copied letter right there. We go edge to edge or face to face. I think this is actually going to be a lot easier to do if I do edge to edge. So let's go for that bit there. If I actually select this lower edge here because that is exactly in line with where I want my eye to be, and I don't have to mess around with offsetting it. There we go. And here you will see my 3D letters. This is exactly what I was going for. Now, we can do some things with the colors here. So this is another thing I want to show you. Any edits we do to these parts will now appear on our assembly. So let's go back to our parts view as the first one. So I have my, let's see, I've got my original I and my T. So my original I is over here. You know what? This is looking very blocky. Let's make this a little bit more exciting, shall we? Let's go into here. Let's select our entire letter and let's just give it a little bit of a rounding off. I think 2.5 would look nice on that. Yeah, it looks a lot more exciting now. You know what? Let's change the color of that as well. So if I select the whole thing, right hand click it, I can add an appearance to all the faces there. So that's the closest I have to a white. Beautiful. Now, I probably should rename these tabs down here. I can actually do that. I can rename each one of those tabs. It's going to make it a little bit easier for me later on when I'm actually trying to find these letters. So I could go across and rename them all. Let's go ahead and select the whole thing. Let's do what we did before by rounding it off. Yeah, 2.5 looks good. I like that there. Now let's do the same thing here and let's give it a nice color, add an appearance. Guess that is the closest I've got to a white. There we go. Right. Now the more studious of you will probably see what's going to happen here. Let's go to our letter T. Let's go ahead and round that off. 2.5, beautiful. Select it again. Let's add an appearance. Yeah, let's go for that green. That's a good one. Right. Yep, all rounded off. Good. Let's select that. I believe it was that green we selected, wasn't it? That looks right. Oh, this is looking wonderful. Right, last two letters. So I can select it. I can round it off, 2.5. It's already saved in my settings. I can select it all again. Change the color. Oh, that's the red I want. I'm definitely going to start renaming all these. Let's go ahead and do that. And then I'll know that that one is my copy. Rename that T. There we go. All right then. So what's my missing letter now? This is the one that I want to do. So I'm finally going to do this here. I'm going to round off the last letter. There we go. Give it its color. Add an appearance. Let's make that red. And here I go. There, a thing of beauty. I've got my nice 3 letters in there. I've rounded them off. I've curved them. I've done anything I wanted to them. I've changed the color and the appearance of them. And I've got exactly what I want here. I think it's time for a little bit of oh, it's a thing of beauty. It's wonderful. Yes, that's what it's all about. Right, enough of that. And there you go. That's your tutorial. That's how you can do several letters, put them all together, assemble them, and build your own 3D letters.